Apparently it shows back on, but fucking hell.
We're just gonna look like we have to make sure we're looking very angry. My face is being blocked, but I'm so dead-faced.
Okay, I guess we'll give you a quick update. They just kicked us out.
This Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to another Organized Chaos podcast. We are doing something a little different. If you're wondering about Transformers Rise of the Beast, that will be in 2 weeks. I want to do it next week, but we got Flash next week, and I'd rather jump on Flash and then push back Transformers. I've heard good things about it from people I know who've seen it, but I have not seen it. If you want to hear my thoughts, 2 weeks. But yeah, today I'm being joined by George. How you doing, George?
I am doing well, thank you.
Yes, we get to pass the microphone back and forth. This is what happens when you forget to bring the more ambient microphone. That being said, this might work out really well because there's like a background noise back here, and you probably aren't going to hear it because we're doing it this way. So it works out really well. But today, we're doing something a bit different. We are going to be talking about one of our favorite bands. We are talking about Limp Bizkit today. Limp Bizkit, just the greatest band ever. Their hits throughout the 80s have just redefined my life. It's amazing. What are your thoughts, George?
Yeah, Limp Bizkit, 80s band. God, so many singles, you know. Yeah, I'll leave it.
Yes, there's. Well, actually, are those Cure albums, George?
They are Cure albums, Bob. Are we talking about Limp Bizkit? I thought they were the same band, or are we just talking about the Cure?
Well, here, I just listened to the entire Limp Bizkit discography, but I guess we'll go ahead and talk about The Cure. We are seeing them tonight, so I guess that'd make more sense. I don't know why we're doing this. Has this bit gone long enough? Are we good? No, we are talking about The Cure. We're going to be seeing them tonight, so we will see like the full live performance. But we are going to be doing an album ranking, all 13 studio albums, as well as we add on their Japanese Whispers because that's like. It's a compilation album of previously uncollected works, so it's kind of like a separate album, but not technically. But we count it anyway because we're special. But yeah, we are going to be doing our album ranking, and then we got out the concert to drive to, which is still a little drive, but should be awesome. I am looking really forward to it. And we'll also record our pre-concert and post-concert thoughts when we get there, and hopefully get some concert footage as well. But yeah, do you want to start out the list, or shall I start the list?
I'll start out the list. Sorry that the microphone will need to be passed, so please bear with us. All right, so we're looking at 13 studio albums from The Cure, dating from 79 to 2008. Yeah, they haven't put out an album in a while. Yeah. So, I'll kick off the list with my number 13. And I'm going to have to look at the backs for... Bob brings a good point. Since we're including Japanese Whispers, there's a total of 14. So, what I put in for 14 is, let me get that little one frame there, is the self-titled The Cure. And I think this is the one from 2004. So, a little disappointing for me. Like the predecessor Bloodflowers was a strong album, I thought, for them. So many great tracks on that. I played it over and over. This one came out, seeing that it's called The Cure as a self-titled, I had very high hopes for this, because a lot of times when a band does a self-titled release, they feel that the material is strong enough to be considered, a self-titled. But I don't know. I mean, largely, this one is forgettable for me. There are some really good tracks on here, though. I really like the song Anniversary. There's the single called All End that I enjoyed. And then the second track, Labyrinth. I'm just kind of making sure that I'm got all the song titles correct on here. But I don't really have a lot to say about this. I mean, if you're a Cure fan, you've probably heard this. I mean, it's fine. It's not one that I visit regularly, but there are some nice tracks on it. So I'm going to hand it over to Bob for his number 14.
Well, real quick, thoughts on self-titled before I do, because you brought up a good point. It's not my number 14, but we'll get to it. But I thought you brought up a good point about being the self-titled one, because lots of times when bands do a self-titled one, it'll be like, this is our definitive sound. I mean, that's literally what Genesis did with their Shapes album. At least, yeah, that's what Mike Rutherford's like, this is our definitive album. However you feel about that album, that's the band kind of saying a statement. So typically it's their, what they think is their definitive album, or sometimes it's just their first album. It depends. But The Cure, this was their 12th studio album. So it was wow, they finally did a self-titled one. Does that mean something? It's a different sound for them, but we will get more into it. As for right now, I need to dig out my number 14. My number 14 is their second album, 17 Seconds. I kind of their early stuff is where they're really finding themselves. And I feel like this is it's experimental, but also kind of forgettable. And I also want to stress, there are some great tracks on here. I really like Play for Today. A Forest is one of my all-time favorite Cure songs, easily. But a lot of these songs just kind of, I hear them, and then a second after they're done, I forget them. There's no staying power to a lot of these songs, unfortunately. And you can tell it's them trying to find their sound. They did their first album, which is kind of all over the place. And then this is them trying to refine that, and it's not quite there. But there are a couple of tracks on here that are there. So that's why it ends up as my number 14. But I still won't even call it a bad album per se. I would actually say none of these, in my opinion, are bad albums. Just lesser Cure albums. But yeah, number 14, 17 Seconds. And then it'd be to me again. So, okay. So I feel like a lot of the same complaints I can make towards 17 Seconds, I can also make towards Faith. It's kind of in the same, I'd almost say the exact same boat. Primary is a fantastic song. It just, I feel like these songs have a bit more of a grounding. This is definitely a bit more they're finding themselves, but it's a bit, a lot of it's kind of lost in a shuffle too. It's good. It's good. It's a little bit better than 17 Seconds, but it still kind of falls in the same group for me. So yeah, George.
So yeah, those are interesting observations. So, yeah, I totally get, when I was first starting to get into The Cure, 17 Seconds and Faith both have a very similar kind of sound. They're very atmospheric albums. I rank those a little bit higher, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I think I'm on number 13. Okay. So for my number 13, I chose the final studio album, if there is another one coming. Nobody knows at this point. 413 Dream. And for me, I felt mostly this is weaker still compared to most Cure albums, so that's kind of why it's closer to the bottom of the list. But it feels more coherent as an album than the self-titled. And I also thought the singles on this one are a little stronger too. So my 3 tracks on here that I picked, I really like Sleep When I'm Dead. I thought that was one of their better singles in recent years. Then I also like the Only One. And what was the other one? Freak Show, I think, was one of the other singles. So the singles are great.
Yeah.
But the album tracks, I thought the opening track, Underneath the Stars, was an interesting song. But again, like the self-titled, it didn't really grab me, but I felt this one was slightly stronger. So am I leading?
Yeah, you're going into 13?
12. 12, okay. So for my number 12, it might be a controversial pick. But I put the debut album, Three Imaginary Boys. And I'll talk a little bit about this one too, because I don't think they had quite found their sound yet. And there's some issues that I have with the formatting of this album too. So it's the debut album. I think they got signed. And like a lot of bands when they first get signed too, the record executives will have them come in and they're like, just play out your sets, your live sets of how you've been performing, and then they'll record a bunch of material. And then I don't know if the band had a lot to say. I think they claimed that a lot of the material that they wanted to be released didn't get released. So we got a lot of solid tracks on here and some oddball ones. There's a cover of Foxy Lady by Jimi Hendrix. There's like songs like Meat Hook and The Weedy Burden just kind of sound like, really experimental throwaway songs. But there's also some really good tracks on here. So I'll name some favorites. Fire in Cairo, I really like. The Subway song has like an interesting kind of scary outro, I guess. Three Imaginary Boys kind of shows where they're going sound-wise for their next couple of albums. So the U.S. had a much different version of this, and I think they said they had nothing to do with the album cover of this either. So I don't think they really liked. It's so random. Three Imaginary Boys, and it's like three different kitchen appliances or plus a lamp. So, yeah, it's an oddball album for sure. The U.S. version called Boys Don't Cry had some non-album singles added in, like I think there was Killing an Arab, Boys Don't Cry, and Jumping on Someone Else's Train. Those were all consolidated with some of the better tracks off of this. So I think the U.S. version had a much better release, but technically this is the original album in its original form. So that's why it's kind of closer to the bottom for me. So, and I'm going to pass to Bob for number 12.
So my number 12, just hand that right over. So if he's going to get in controversy for his number 12, I might as well get right in it too. This is my number 12. Yeah, so this is definitely experimental. It's not bad. Like I said, I enjoy this more than 17 Seconds and Fading, though I feel like those ones are much more them on their path. That being said, there are some throwaways in here as well. You brought up like Meat Hook and Wendy Burton, which do nothing for me. Foxy Lady is fun, but it also feels like if you play that for me and told me that was Devo covering Jimi Hendrix, I'd be like, yep. That definitely sounds like them, and it's not. It's The Cure, but it doesn't sound like The Cure. But like as far as like good tracks, there's a 10:15 Train, Jumping Someone. No, wait, what is it? Yes, I'm combining those two songs. They're two great songs, but this one has 10:15 Saturday Night. Great song, probably my favorite on here. But Grinding Halt's also a fun one. I know you named a couple that I also liked as well. But yeah, there are some gems in here. You can definitely see where they're going. Oh yeah, Three Imaginary Boys. Definitely sounds like more of a Cure song from later. So yeah, you see where they're going, but this is just, it does feel like here's a whole bunch of us just jamming, thrown together in this garage. Do with it what you will, and they did. And then, yeah, I just love the observation of this album cover, because, like, it's a fridge, a lamp, and a vacuum. What is this? What? Okay. Cool. And it's pink, too, so it's important. Makes you think. But, yes, we're on to my number 11. So, number 11, go ahead and pass me 413 there. So, yeah, it's time for me to dive into the newer ones, because I always really dislike the newer ones. And then for this more recent listen through, I found there was more here to like than I remember. But they're still not great. Like I said, I still like all these albums, but this one and the self-titled one really clumped together, in my opinion. They both have they're both this weird mix where like a lot of these tracks are a bit harder than normal Cure, but also there's like random softer songs thrown in there that are kind of like, okay. Like on this one, like Underneath the Stars, I think actually was a fantastic opening track. But then Freak Show definitely stands out, and it's a good song. It stands out as a different song than what they usually do. Sleep When I'm Dead, solid. Like these newer albums, I found they're fine, but like they're not peak Cure. Like essentially, the reason I feel these two later albums really stand out is because like we were experiencing like peak Cure for like so long, and then like it really felt like they kind of weren't peak anymore with these two, and you could tell. But it's still not bad. 413 Dream. It was really close between this and my number 11 pick, which we will get to after George's next two picks. Mm-hmm.
So what number are we on now?
You just did 3 imaginary boys, so you're on your 11.
So I'm number 11. Okay. I tried to put these in somewhat of a order.
I was thinking when we cover them both,
We'll retire them, like when we did Genesis, and we'll just set it aside. So number 11, I chose the second album, 17 Seconds. And yeah, Bob had a good observation on this. You can see that they're moving towards their sound. They're not quite there yet, but this one had a much darker sound. I feel like the production on this is a little more minimal. So this one and Faith, I always got... They have similar sounds. They're very minimal, very atmospheric. Actually, both of them I would put on a lot when I went to bed, just because they're not like super... There's a couple energetic songs on both of them, but for the most part, they're just kind of dark, but also kind of relaxing, very kind of soft compared to the first album, but still really good. A Forest, I mean, it's one of the classic Cure songs. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cure fan, you know the song. I mean, it's pretty big. I really like At Night. I felt like that was kind of one of their more gothier, edgy, hard songs that they would move into, kind of especially on Pornography. And then also, Play for Today is good, but I also really like In Your House too. So, 17 Seconds. We can officially retire that one, right?
Yeah, and we can retire 3 imaginary boys, and then
Because we've talked about that one.
yes.
And then we're moving on to 10, which I picked Faith. I mean, our lists are somewhat lining up.
We're replacing the newer ones a bit differently, but that's about it.
Yeah, I had a feeling that these would be somewhat similar. But yeah, again, like a lot of bands when they're younger, they will turn out an album like every year. They'll have a new album every year. So this was just the very next year following up 17 Seconds. I think this one was 81. Yeah, because 17 Seconds was 80. First album was 79. So again, it's I feel this is a little darker than 17 Seconds. You can kind of tell they're moving towards Pornography here. But there's some really soft songs on here too that are just very relaxing tracks. So I really like All Cats Are Gray off of this one. Other Voices is another really good up-tempo but very atmospheric. I think Primary was the single, but I also really like The Funeral Party and The Drowning Man are really great cuts on this. But still at the bottom of the list, because when I listen to The Cure, there is peak Cure. They're not quite there yet with this, but yeah, that's where I'm at, number 10 with Faith.
That's right, you did. All right, so we are at my... What was the last mic? Oh, yeah, I did 413 Dream. So go ahead and pass over self-titled. It was really close. I know George ranked this one below 413 Dream, and it was so close between me and those. I will say Labyrinth might be one of my favorite songs by The Cure, period, which is why I probably inched this one a bit closer, even though I think 413 Dream has a bit better song consistency. Because I will say the single on this, The End of the World, is probably something I always bring up as just the most forgettable Cure song possibly in a while, just especially single wise. Like I'm not the biggest fan of Friday I'm in Love, but like that gets caught in your head. The End of the World is just like it's made to be a single and it's forgettable, like the worst combination. And especially when you have a song like Labyrinth on here, which I think is pretty close to peak Cure, and then Alt End is a good one. There's a couple of really big gems on here, and then to have that be your lead single was weird. But like, I'm not judging the lead single. I'm judging the album as a whole. And the album as a whole, it wasn't bad. But, like, it's one of those things when you plug in the self-titled Cure, you realize, oh, crap. Because it's the first album where I feel like the peak Cure period kind of ended. You plug in, it's like, oh, no. It's not there. It's still good, but it's not there anymore. So... Is it bad? Absolutely not. I would not jump on this one just because it's a self-titled one, though. There's so much better Cure albums to jump on if you want to get introduced. But it is there. Let's see. What was my next one? Oh, go ahead and execute me and hand me Pornography. Pornography. I feel like when you go into early Cure, I placed the first one a bit higher than the first two, but then after that, there's almost like after the first one, like I feel like 17 Seconds is kind of a downward trajectory, but then I feel like they kind of progress a little bit every time. And kind of the next track on there is Pornography, which is not quite the peak Cure yet, in my opinion, but really good still. This is just some great stuff. I mean, Hanging Garden, holy crap. The opening track, 100 Years, was fantastic. I will say, Cure in general, their opening tracks, fucking good for the most part. Let's see. These are all good songs. Yeah, like, that says something. Like, I'm looking at this going, fuck, I like all these songs, but I still don't consider it peak Cure. It tells you something about when they get to their peak, because when they get to their peak, it's just like album after album is so goddamn good. And this one, like, you put this album and label it to any other band, and this would probably be my favorite album by that band. It's not for the Cure. It's actually pretty far back on the Cure, but this is good. I guess I don't have a whole lot left to add, but just it's good. It's just not peak Cure yet. They get better.
So I think number 9, you just hand that one right over to me, because that's the one I'm talking about next. So yeah, Pornography. So yeah, I think this is as dark as they ever got, sound-wise, or consistent-wise. Not that they haven't had songs these dark in their career, but as a complete album of that style. So you could say this is kind of like as close as they ever got to maybe like goth rock or dark wave, or I think this album's pretty big in those communities. I see a lot of people saying that's their favorite Cure album. I highly disagree with that. But if Bauhaus and Sisters of Mercy are like your top tier things, in your taste, I can see why you would love this album. But yeah, as Bob mentioned, 100 Years, fantastic opening. Like that driving drum beat, the menacing guitars, it's so good. Song listings on this are a little harder to read, so let me pull this. And I don't have my glasses on. Let me pull this up here. Hanging Garden, yeah, fantastic single. I think I heard the Standing on the Beach singles before I heard any of these earlier albums. So I definitely, remember that one right off the bat. I really like Cold with the synth strings in that. It's a very powerful but kind of depressing song. Again, that's really kind of as dark as they got on some of these tracks, but still fantastic. And I love the brooding sound of the title track, Pornography, on the end. It's, but again, it's like, it's a fantastic album, and it says a lot because they're moving towards bigger and greater things. And so, and this is another step in their evolution towards peak Cure. So yeah, Pornography.
You're number 8.
Oh, I'm up again for number 8. Yeah, I try to stack these in a certain order. And it feels like I'm putting these in year of release and the way I'm ranking them almost. But I think this was the one right after Pornography is. I don't remember if they lost band members, but I think Robert Smith kind of took over a bit with more of the songwriting duties. And he's like, okay, fellas, I think we got a little too dark. I don't want to pigeonhole us into a style, so let's start experimenting and see if we can do different styles of songs. So they experimented. I think they did 4 singles that were released around that time, and then they each had a unique B-side. And then later they were collected into this volume called Japanese Whispers. So not technically an album, but it is 8 tracks of all new original studio material, so it kind of counts in a way. But yeah, they got into more poppier numbers here, some kind of like borderline jazz numbers, especially like the Love Cats, Speak My Language, and things like that. Some more synth pop. They're starting to kind of flirt with the like dance pop kind of stuff, especially with The Walk. So, but again, another good step in their evolution. So favorite songs for me on this one are The Walk, The Upstairs Room, which kind of continues kind of that darker, gothier sound, but poppier. And I don't want to say the Love Cats because I feel like there's another track on here I really like. I really like Lament. Lament's a really good song on here. So, yeah, Japanese Whispers. I'm going to hand it over to Bob.
My number 8 is Japanese Whispers as well. And it says something that this is not intended to be an album, but it's like I would rank it higher than a lot of their albums. And frankly, it works as an album. Like if I handed this to you and said, here's a Cure album and had you listen to it, you wouldn't know that it's a collection of singles. And they're great singles. There is not a track list on here, is there? Oh, wait, there kind of is. Okay. So George did not mention Let's Go to Bed, which is one of their funnest, poppiest songs, and I fucking love it. It catches on. It's like, let's go to bed. It's fucking great. But yeah, he brought up a lot of the other great ones. The Walk, fucking amazing. And then like the B-sides, like Speak My Language is just a solid freaking song. Just One Kiss is great. This is just like, these are all great songs. And I will say like the only like slight I can give this album, because it's not technically an album, is that it doesn't feel 100% cohesive as an album. And that's the worst thing I can say about it, because all the songs are fantastic, which is why it's ranked so high. Like there is not a bad song here. And then like you brought up band membership, and I thought that'd be interesting to go into a little bit, because I haven't like thoroughly researched Cure band membership, because through so much of it, I was just like, it just seems like it's Robert Smith. And is it just Robert Smith? Because I did a little bit of research, and the answer is yes and no. There are lots of guys who have been a member of The Cure for a majority of the albums. There have been guys, I think right now, the guy who's been with the band for the shortest amount of time has been like 10 years, but like there's like, I want to say 2 other members who have been there for like 30. So yeah, it's mostly, it has a kind of revolving door of membership, but lots of people who've been there for a while. But if you were to say it's Robert Smith's band, you wouldn't be wrong either. It's Robert Smith. It's kind of what he wants to do. But the guys, when they're there, they contribute to the songwriting as well. So it's not 100%, but like mostly Robert Smith. But yeah, this is just a solid singles collections of stuff that was never before released on other albums. So kind of works as its own album, even though it technically isn't. But it's a good one. And then it's to me. What is my next one? I'm looking right at it. All right, so this is my number 7. We're up to number 7 already. All right, The Top. Again, this is the one after Pornography, and I think it's just another step forward in their evolution. This is really good. Like Shake Dog Shake, another great opening track. And I want to stress, this isn't even peak Cure yet for me, but this is still really good. Let's see, what else? The Caterpillar, Banana Fish Bones. That's a cool closing track. It's not actually a closing track. Never mind. It's a cool track towards the end. The Top is a closing track, but yeah, these are, again, it's like, okay, let me tell you the good songs. I'm just going to read the entire track list because they're all good. And it's, again, like you give this to any other band, this is the best album they've ever done. But it's not for The Cure. And we haven't even hit, well, in my opinion, is peak Cure yet. We're getting there, but we haven't quite hit it yet. But, yeah, over to you, George. I hand this to you, too.
You're just handing it to me. We usually get pretty close on our opinions on the bands that we like. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. It's very amazing. So next up in the evolution, it kind of, again, and a lot of these albums are only a year apart, so it sounds like they're retaining the sound of the previous album, but they're moving into the sound of the next album. So you can say a lot of these albums are transitional, which is very interesting. And I think this is maybe the one that Robert Smith was most solo on, I think. Bob, you might know that. But yeah, it does remind me quite a bit of Japanese Whispers, but there's a lot of Head in the Door on here too. But they did a lot of new things on here. There's like a lot of like kind of world type instruments in this. You can tell they're experimenting with instrumentation, different song arrangements. I would say Shake Dog Shake never really grabbed me as much, but I really like Bird Mad Girl. The Wailing Wall, kind of, again, another one of those tracks that's very good sonically with the instruments of choice. Love Dressing Up, Piggy in the Mirror, The Empty World. Like, yeah, this is, again, it says a lot that, if any other band had released this, like, it could be their best album, but that, again, it just says a lot for The Cure as a band. Like, we'll get to peak Cure in a minute. They're not quite there yet, but I think after this album, they're in that area. So, yeah, at the top. So I think we're retiring this one, and then I'm saying...
Grab your next one, but here I have a little bit of trivia. So for the top, I didn't even realize this, but apparently Robert Smith, when he wrote this, was also the guitarist for Susie and the Banshees at that time. I did not even know he was a member of Susie and the Banshees, so that's just a cool little factoid.
I did know that. And there is a project, I think, that he was involved with called The Glove, which is just him and Budgie, I think, from Banshees. I've never actually heard it, so someone in the comments just say, how can you be a Cure fan if you've never heard The Glove? I will check it out, I promise. I promise. Okay, so I think we're entering peak Cure at this point.
Let's see. For me, we're hitting peak Cure at this point.
Yeah. If you couldn't hear Bob agrees that we're now into what we consider peak Cure. So these are going to be a little tougher for us to rank, I think. And I think we might have some variations of our choices here, but I mean, I'll stress that these are all, from this point forward, all just really excellent albums. Okay, so... Oh, God, this is... I didn't make a list. I'm going based off of how I stacked these. I pulled them off the shelf and put them in an order that I think made sense to me, but... oh, God, this is hard. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Bloodflowers. See, I can talk, I promise. I think this was I became a fan right after Wild Mood Swings came out because I had picked up the Galore singles compilation. So I actually bought this one on day of release. So I remember first taking it home, listening to it, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like The Cure. And it was another one of those like Faith and Pornography where I'm like, I could really just kind of go to bed to this. But that's not a bad thing, because I mean, I love music I can relax to and go to sleep to, and when you put on an album so many times to go to bed, the songs start to like really ingrain into your head. And over the years, this has become like one of my all-time favorite Cure albums. Like, I can't stress how good this is, and it was really hard. I feel like this one should be higher, and I really felt that I might be doing it a disservice ranking it this low. But they kind of went with a more basic sound on this one, but it's still very atmospheric. I mean, it's not all over the place. It is a very focused album compared to, like, say, Wild Mood Swings. But just right off the bat, Out of This World is a phenomenal opening track. And like Bob said, they always do a great job with their openers. But one of my all-time favorite Cure songs is The Last Day of Summer. So, again, like trying to think of what the other single on here, maybe Someday, I think, but I thought Out of This World was the stronger track. I really like the closing song, Bloodflowers. So, yeah, just phenomenal album, but not at the top of the list. So, am I going again, or am I passing to you? Okay.
All right, and you are not going to pass me Bloodflowers, so we are disagreeing here. You're passing me Wild Mood Swings right now. Now, Wild Mood Swings, this is peak Cure. This is, for me, when we're dealing with peak Cure, this is in that period, but this is my least favorite in that period. But, dude, when we're dealing with peak Cure, it's peak Cure. Like, I would say anyone like this one or on is great introductory albums if you're not sure about The Cure. Like, check out any one of these. Fucking phenomenal. Wild Mood Swings, for me, felt the most formulaic. of the songs during this period, or albums during this period. It definitely felt like they had kind of a rhythm set up. That being said, like I don't want to stress that's bad. It's like they have a rhythm set up for like just knocking it out of the park. So that's not a bad rhythm. Like I feel like on this album, like Strange Attraction definitely felt like the intended signal to be popular, and I don't know if it really made any traction. That being said, it's a fun song. Mint Car, I think the follow up, I think I prefer that to Strange Attraction. Let's see, what's the opener here? Want and Club America. Those are both just phenomenal songs right there. Yeah. So I don't know about you. Maybe this is just on my digital version, but mine says for Gone, it says Gone Radio Mix, and I'm like, why is it the radio mix? But that's the only version I could find, so I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, again, this is peak. This is, in my opinion, this is the worst song worst album in peak Cure, which means it's really good, and this is a really fun album. So Wild Mood Swings ends up being my number 6, I believe. Let's double check that. Yes, it's my number 6. Okay, so on to my number 5. And George, could you pass over Wish? Okay, so I think this is actually their best-selling album, I think, when I was looking it up. I wasn't sure if it would be this or Disintegration, but I think it was this, mainly because Friday I'm in Love was their most popular single. And that is the song where if somebody has no idea who The Cure is, you could play that and they'll know that song. I don't know if it'll necessarily sell them on it, because it's a very poppy song. It's fun. It's not one of my favorites, though. That being said, there are... Okay, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, peak Cure. No question, in my opinion. Absolutely love that song. The opening track, Open. High is great. Apart kind of reminds me a lot of Catch, but not in a bad way. It's great as well. But yeah, let's see. What else do we have? Impossible. A Letter to Elsie is great. Again, we're in peak Cure, and actually this is one of the ones that almost switched. It's really close between this and what will be my number 4. Because until like a few days ago, this was my number 4 pick, but now it's my number 5. But yeah, Wish is a fantastic album. Definitely worth checking out. Not a terrible intro. Like I said, we're at the point where all these are great introductory albums if you're not sure if you want to get into The Cure. So, Wish. Yeah, I did too. Okay, on to George.
Okay, so as you can see, we had a slight discrepancy in our our lineup of peak Cure albums. How dare you disagree with me? I'm on 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what's that? I think Bloodflowers was your 6, so you're on 5.
So I'm 5. Okay. So 5. I mean, we're close. We're close. Wild Mood Swings. I was not sold on this immediately when I first heard it. I had known some of the singles on here, and yeah, Bob's right. I got to turn that sideways to read the track list. But I like what they did here with some of the, like the 13th has like again a very jazzy thing, something they were kind of flirting with, in like the Japanese Whispers era. Strange Attraction is a really good synth pop song, and kind of like the xylophone sounds in it. Mint Car kind of reminds me of the Friday I'm in Love, not song wise, but style wise. I disagree. Bob thinks Mint Car is a better track than Friday I'm in Love, but I will disagree with that. But yeah, One is a fantastic opener. Again, great openers on like every Cure album ever for some reason. Yeah, I really like that. It was a much different album than Wish. They were at this point still on their peak, but still willing to experiment. But yeah, this is again not one that I immediately liked, but over time, like I really, really started getting into it, and yeah, it's Wild Mood Swings. So I guess I'm on number 4. Oh, this is where it's getting hard. All right. This one was tough for me. My number 4 was tough because my my 4 and my 3 were really so close, but I'll get into why. But it's a Wish, number 4. Again, this was very different than Disintegration. Again, you could tell that they're now getting more into I think I got this backwards here. There's the front. They're getting more into a rockier approach. Like, not that Disintegration didn't have those rock elements, but it had a lot of lush, kind of atmospheric, but still catchy, still dancey, still pop. This one they got kind of just more into like alternative rock, and I know this was kind of like the big thing in the early 90s. So they were definitely gravitating towards that style, but again, still turning out track after track after track of great material. The only thing that I think kind of holds this one back a little bit, that from the top 3 for me, is just it's a very lengthy album. I feel like this is maybe 3 songs too long. But otherwise, like, fantastic. You know, like Bob said, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea is like a peak song. I love Friday I'm in Love. Like, for me, that's about as close to a classic 80s top 40 song that they ever got, even though this was a 90s album. It's not 80s, but as close as they got to like something you would tune into on an 80s station, and you would hear that song, and you know, it's right up there with any of those classic 80s songs, even though they put it out in 92. I think this one came out. High is a good song. I really love Trust, just a very good piano ballad. Apart kind of sounds like something lighter than what they would have put maybe on Disintegration and Pornography, maybe a mix of those two. Let's see what else. Yeah, I like A Letter to Elise, and Windy Time has a nice little dance number to it. But yeah, Wish. And I think that puts Bob at his number 3. Am I handing this? Are we retiring that?
Yeah, we can retire. We can retire Wish. Okay. But actually, we're at my number 4. We're not quite to my number 3 yet. So go ahead and hand over Bloodflowers. Oh, yes, we can. So Bloodflowers. This is the one, like, for the longest time I had Wish ranked higher than Bloodflowers. And with the last listen to, when I listened to it back to back, I went, I lean towards Bloodflowers. And there are arguments to go either way. But, like, okay, so I'm going to tell you kind of something I'm vulnerable to. There's a song called Watching Me Fall that's like 11 minutes long. It's this long, like, rock Cure song. And I am a sucker. Like, the progressive rock fan of me cannot resist stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, it is like, sometimes you get to a long song, it's like, oh, would it just end? And that one it just builds and builds, and I just absolutely adore it. And then they followed up where The Birds Always Sing, which is a fantastic song. Just lyrically, I love that song. And then they followed that up with essentially the single Maybe Someday, which is probably my least favorite of those 3, but like, it's still like, it's a fun song. It's a nice song. It's like almost like we have these 2 fairly heavy songs, and then they followed up with almost like a fluffy song, and it somehow works. Yeah, this is. And then you brought up like Last Day of Summer, which is fantastic. The closing track, Bloodflowers, fantastic. Out of This World opening track, again, fantastic. Yeah, this is just an album I thoroughly enjoy. And I think almost like this album was so good, which is why I was a bit disappointed with the self-titled one, because actually sonically self-titled and this are kind of similar, but it's just like self-titled just isn't nearly as good. Like Labyrinth is the one that comes closest on that album to sonically fitting in here, but it's like almost like self-titled was, here's all the lessons we learned from Bloodflowers. Let's kind of crap them up. And it might just be like experimenting, and I appreciate experimenting, but it didn't work, and then this one does. So if you ever listen to the self-title and think, oh, this is okay, but I want something better, Bloodflowers all the way, absolutely. And then I think now we're to my number 3. So pass Head on the Door. Head on the Door. This is the album, 1985, I think. I think it's 85. It might be 84, but I'm gonna go with 85. Oh, okay, the Cure's classic 1985 album remastered. Okay, 1985's Head on the Door. This is peak Cure. Like this is like literally like all the good albums they had before this. When you put this album on and you listen in between days, Crido Dog, The Blood, 6 Different Ways, it's like all of a sudden you realize this is like a cohesive album. This is better than anything they've done before. This is like a whole new level for the Cure, and this is just absolute classic stuff from beginning to end. A Night Like This, absolutely love that song. There isn't a bad song on these, and like in the peak albums, there's really not really bad songs. I'd even say I'll throw a little shade at Friday I'm in Love. I'm not gonna say I dislike it. Just it's lower on the Cure singles for me, but that's not on this album. This album has great singles, but yeah, I know I love this. Like 6 Different Ways is probably the most different one, but like that's just a fun song. I love it. Head on the Door. The 1985 album that really introduced the world to peak Cure. It's right here. It's fantastic, and it's my number 3 pick. And to you, George.
I knew we would have the same top 3. Yeah. I had a feeling, Ben. You're just handing that to me. This one was tough. I was really torn between this one or Wish for my number 3, but I went with this one simply because it's all killer, no filler. Like I said, I felt like Wish was maybe a few albums too long, but this is just, you put it on and it kicks your ass all the way to the end of the album. Like, the last song, Sinking, again, like I love how they close the albums out with something that's dark but a little optimistic too, and it kind of sets you up for where they're going next. But a couple of experimental songs on here like The Baby Scream, Screw, Push, but they're really fun tracks. Like, God, In Between Days has to be one of their most recognizable singles. It's hard to turn on any radio throwback station and not hear that song at some point during the day. Like, I hear it all the time. Like The Blood, Close to Me. I think they've released a couple different versions of that track. Yeah, Head on the Door. There's not a lot to really say about this. It's top 3 Cure. It's so good. Am I going to number 2 now? Okay. Oh, God. I struggled. I struggled a lot on my top 2.
1 and 2 are both fucking
Yeah, I really did. And one of them is just, it's so iconic. The other one, like, I feel is their most diverse album. So I'm going to stress that I'm going to go ahead and show my number 2 as Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. This was the first Cure album I ever heard. And I bought this just because I loved Why Can't I Be You. That was the song that sold me on the Cure, believe it or not. But yeah, I feel like this is their most like eclectic album. There's so many different styles, everything that they've learned in the past and had gone to up until this point, they did immaculately. Again, this was a double album, I think. I think they were able to squeeze everything onto a single CD when this came out. But again, it's like, The Kiss is probably my all-time favorite opening track on a Cure album.
Yeah.
And
that's saying something.
Yeah. And again, that's like right off Pornography. And then you have, Catch. That sounds like it could have been from Head on the Door. And then Why Can't I Be You is, again, bringing in more of that jazzier dance stuff, but into just a fantastic pop song. And then there's some experimental tracks that are really great. For me, I think like the weak point on here is maybe the Snake Pit. It goes on a little too long, but overall, no, great. Especially the closing song, Fight. Wow, what a closing track. So again, it was a tough pick, but I went with this one for number 2. Am I passing the buck?
I'm going number 2 or number. Yeah, I think we're doing my 2-1. Yeah, because I did Head on the Door. All right, so George, I think it's interesting because, like, for Genesis, we both picked Lamb as the best album. For Pink Floyd, we both picked The Wall as the best album. For Tears for Fears, we both picked we both picked Songs from the Big Chair as our best album. So what is Garbage the only ranking we've done where we've disagreed on the top album? I think. Okay. We are disagreeing here, and because like our top two are the same, but like the order is different. So go ahead and pass over Disintegration. This is the if you hear people talk about Cure albums, I almost always hear this one because this is the one with all the singles. This is the one with Love Song, fantastic single by the way. Let's see what like Lullaby, Fascination Street. They played Fascination Street all the time at the club. That was awesome. Prayer for Rain, Pictures of You. This is just hit after hit, and then the deep cuts on here. Plain Song. Let's see. Disintegration, the title track. Untitled. This is just a collection of great songs. It's almost the greatest hits, but not quite. But it's fantastic. It's not quite my number one, but it is close. This is like between my 1 and 2 on here. It's so close. Like, and this just ended up being my number 2. And I want to stress it's not a slight against this album. It just is like, which one would I prefer to listen to? And I think Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is probably a bit more dynamic in just the song. Whereas this one, the songs like can feel a little bit samey. And I hate saying that because it's like, I have to differentiate between the two. Because I'm not saying these songs are samey, just they're samey in comparison to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. But God, like, absolutely fantastic album. I think in South Park, they declared this the best album ever made. It's not my favorite Cure album, so I guess I'd have to disagree. But it is a good album. It's really good. So we can't quite retire this one yet, but go ahead and go into my number 1. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. For me, this is a long album, but I honestly love every single one. I mean, you brought up Snake Pit as the weakest one, and I might agree with you, but I still love it. Like, I can listen to that on its own and just dig it. And yeah, you brought up the opening track, The Kiss. Okay, so we brought up how their openers are great. The Kiss is a phenomenal opener. And I'm not going to lie, like, just hearing Robert Smith drop the F-bomb, it's like, whoa, holy crap, he did it. But it's atmospheric. That's the thing, like, I like their atmospheric stuff, and this one has atmospheric stuff. It has slower poppy stuff. It has more of your hit stuff. I mean, just like Heaven's on here. Why Can't I Be You? There are plenty of hits on here. It's not as many as Disintegration, but there's lots of hits on here. And yeah, I just like The Kiss is just like almost this dark atmospheric love song, and then it follows up with Catch, which is almost like this light poppier love song, but like they play perfectly against each other somehow. It's a weird how they are next to each other but work. Yeah, I absolutely adore this album. Oh yeah, and I can't, like, it's weird, but like probably my most listened to Cure song is on this album. It's probably Fight, which doesn't really have that many like it doesn't have a video. It doesn't really have that many live performances, although it does happen. But it's definitely a deep cut. But there was just a period in my life where I was addicted to that for some reason, so I've listened to it a lot. But it's a great song. It's a great closing track. Great opener, great closer. Probably my favorite opening and closing tracks in their entire discography, which says something. But yeah, great album. I love this. So, George, what is your number 1? I wonder.
Oh, I wonder too. Yeah, again, it was such a tough call. Like, some days I feel like Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me could be my favorite Cure album, but I really had to think about it. And
the same way about Disintegration, by the way.
Yeah, Bob feels the same way if you didn't hear him. But it's one of those things like, yeah, usually a band's double album is my favorite one. I think that the Cure's double album was Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. I think the vinyl was 2 records where the others were single records. So I was just kind of like, oh, and I wanted to put it at number 1 so bad. I really did, but I went with Disintegration. And I had to think like long and hard about it, not just because this has their iconic singles, but just like it's one of the albums that like I feel is a perfect album from start to finish. Yeah, it does. Bob brings a good point. Like a lot of the songs in here have the same vibe, a lot of the same mood. And for some artists that like for me, that could be a discredit to the album, but I really feel like it just works here. They're not trying to make a message with that certain mood. They just, had a flow and it just gelled perfectly from start to finish. And I can kind of go through my favorite tracks on here. I mean, Love Song is like phenomenal, one of their most recognizable songs. The title track, Disintegration, again, just phenomenal. I think they play that one at the club quite a bit too. The song Disintegration. Yeah, Fascination Street, which is weird because it's really just a single verse on the track. It's just the music of that song that's so iconic. Lullaby, awesome. Prayers for Rain. And speaking of Prayers for Rain, it would be ironic if they played that song today, considering how much rain we're supposed to be getting. So we're going to this show fully prepared to get wet, by the way. So,
more ways than one. Come at me, Robert.
Oh boy. We're in the lawn section. I don't think we got to worry about that. The same Deep Water as You. I mean, there's some like transitional songs in here, like Close Down and Plain Song. What an opener! God, second favorite opener has to be Plain Song. Even like the last two songs, like Homesick and Untitled, are just two like very kind of romantic songs, and then like musically they just match the lyrics perfectly. So, yeah. Disintegration. I know we still have a couple of ranking videos coming up. The Cure isn't quite my favorite band of all time, but they're up there. They're definitely up there. So, it's The Cure. We'll be seeing them at 7 p.m. tonight. They probably won't go on till closer to 9, knowing how bands go on. And then we're teleporting to the post show, right after this video. Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay. We'll do a pre-show and then a post-show. And Bob will let you know how that works. Here you go.
Yeah. No. We'll it'll be a couple hours for us, but we'll magically cut to the pre-show and give you our pre-show thoughts. We go over a couple of tracks we're hoping to hear. I know there's a couple of tracks I looked up on the internet, not purposely, just wanting to know what their show would kind of look like because Meg Myers was so disappointing. But yeah, this show looks great, so I know definitely probably one song that's going to be happening, or actually two. And they're good songs. And one of the songs is actually not even going to be listed, wasn't even in this ranking because it was a soundtrack song. But yeah, I'm trying to keep myself away from the actual track listing so I can be more or less surprised. But yeah, I know, like I said, I want to stress, when I call Disintegration a little bit samey, it's literally just me trying to come up, I'm trying to analyze these two, and then because Kiss Me, and Disintegration are so good. So it's only a slight in comparing those two. As its own album, Disintegration is probably one of the best albums ever. It just happens to be next to Kiss Me, in my opinion, which is just so goddamn good. But yeah, it's it's only a slight in the ranking. It's not a slight for the album because the album's phenomenal. But yes, we'll do the pre-show. We'll probably get some merch and show off our merch. Hopefully they'll have good merch. Actually, yeah, I don't know if I brought this up to you, but apparently a lot, if you go to the merch store, all the merch is customized to their venue. So we should get merch customized to us, which I'm kind of excited to see. I'll probably be disappointed because it probably will be here's our leftover Seattle stuff. Cleveland doesn't get stuff. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I'm excited. And I will say, doing this ranking, I always liked The Cure, but I don't think I've ever sat down and actually listened to all their albums, because I think I was missing two of them when we decided to do it. And I had to get 3 Imaginary Boys and Wild Mood Swings. And yeah, it was good to hear them. I really liked Wild Mood Swings in particular, but actually listening to all their albums, it really gave me a new appreciation of them. It's they went from a band I really liked to just pretty high up there. Maybe my top 10. I'm not sure. I don't even know what my top 10 would be, but maybe they're pretty high up there, but they're good. So I'm really looking forward to this show today. Like I said, we'll get pre-show thoughts, and then we'll get some clips from the show, and then post-show thoughts. So it will take us a couple hours for all this, and you guys will get it all summarized here in the next few minutes. So have a good one. Oh, and next week we'll be looking over The Flash, and then are you joining us? Is that going to be an Indiana Jones one?
If it's the Last Crusade one, yes.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's Last Crusade, Crystal Skull, and then we have the new indie. Okay, so yeah, we'll go over The Flash. We'll go over Indiana Jones and Last Crusade. What's the other one in there, by the way? Let me bring up the podcast list. Oh, and we're going to go over some Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but even though I'm essentially doing the closing here, don't leave yet because we're about ready to get to pre-show thoughts, and then you're going to get some concert footage, so it should be awesome. So stay tuned for right now. All right, we have all our faces in frame, so that's something. Yeah, no, it was figuring out how to set up the camera. Yes, we are here for The Cure. I'm excited to see this. This is way more crowd than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they definitely have a following, but holy crow. Yeah. This will be a popular show.
It is pouring today. So
yes.
We brought ponchos, we brought a tarp, we have chairs, extra socks. We're going to make this work.
Yeah, it will be awesome. I guess real quick, what songs are you guys hoping to hear?
I don't know. Burn. It probably will never happen, but you never know.
Burn would be awesome, yes. Well, Burn would be up there for me. Like, there's a couple deep cuts where it's like, if they play one, I'd love it. And it'd be like Fight, From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, maybe, what was it, Where the Birds Sing? Watching Me Fall. There's almost no chance they do Watch Me Fall, because that's like, they could do 2 songs instead of Watching Me Fall. So, but that'd be cool. But yeah.
No, I have a feeling it's going to be a mix of, their most well-known songs, and I think they'll throw in some deep cuts here and there. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm not really expecting any particular songs. Or
I mean, they're gonna do
so.
Mostly hits. I mean, we're gonna get Love Song. We're gonna get Friday I'm in Love. These are happening. We're gonna get Fascination Street almost certainly.
Yeah.
What's a couple other ones I'm trying to think of? I don't know. We'll probably get some like Let's Go to Bed or Forest and stuff like that. That's very, very likely. Ashlene, what are your thoughts with your minimal cure experience?
With my minimal cure experience. I see. I mean, I've hyped myself up. I attempted to get involved in the album ranking.
It was a bit too
watched
much.
a bunch of Cure videos on YouTube, and I did come across a video of them performing during this tour. It looks like they're doing pretty well. It sounds pretty nice, so I'm excited. It's probably going to be one of those bands where I don't really know any songs when I'm going in like by name, but when I go in there, it's like, oh, I've known that song since I was but 0 years old.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But, yes, I guess that's my thoughts going in. We will see what happens. Get some concert footage for you guys.
This is a bucket list show.
Yeah, no, this will definitely be, like, I've always wanted to see Cure live, and it's like, whoa, let's do it. Yeah, fuck yeah.
So.
Apparently, the show's back on, but fucking hell.
We're just gonna look like we have to make sure we're looking very angry. My face is being blocked. I'm so dead-faced.
Okay, I guess we'll give you a quick update. They just kicked us out, and then we just heard, like a minute before we got back to the car, that the show is on.
So we're drenched.
We're drenched. We are doing what we can to dry off a little
bit. I
bit.
brought a ton of extra socks, so we're switching out our socks.
Somehow, like, when he was doing it, I was like, you're being kind of silly. And now, like, you're the man. I love you.
I am a genius. No.
So I guess we're still going to see The Cure. There will be less people there, so that will be nice at least that we have that. Hopefully the rain calms down. We can actually get a good show. I hope we can rent some seats and get some merch still. But fucking hell, I swear to God.
This has been an interesting journey so far.
I am full of rage.
I know, you're just so pissed off, Ashley.
I'm so mad. This was the one thing that I didn't want to happen.
No,
literally, my opinion was that there were like 2 ways that this could go that I would be okay with. A, the show is canceled and we get our money back. Or B, it is rescheduled to another day. But no, it's as soon as we get back and they're like, come back in.
But on the bright side, it gives us an opportunity to dry up a little bit, get out of some wet articles of clothing, try to...
I'm gonna be pissed if Robert Smith just goes, oh, okay, we're late, we better get going now. It's like, dude, give us time to get back.
Yeah.
Man. You just kicked us out. Give us a break, man. But
yeah.
hopefully we have some cool Cure clips. I'm exhausted because like we brought chairs because we're sitting on lawn and they said we couldn't keep the chairs, so I ran the chairs back to the car, went back to the venue, got in the fucking venue, and then they kicked us out again, and now we're back at the car, and now we're gonna walk back to the venue, and
It's not fun.
fucking Robert Smith better fucking bring it tonight. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, A game, guys.
I mean, I want to fucking come during that show, okay? I don't care. This has to be the best fucking show ever, okay? I am fucking miserable. It's on you, Robert Smith. We're doing this.
She said, woman makes me laugh. She said, threw her arms around my neck. Show me how you do it. I promise that I'll run away with you. I'll run away with you. Oh, say I'm sorry. I thought that it would change your mind, but I know that this time I have said too much, but you won't cry.
All right.
We got out of the Cure. Holy shit.
Amazing show.
Yeah, no, okay. First thing, okay. They did a great job. I don't know if he quite made me come, but you know, it was fucking good. But like, it's one of those situations where, okay, so the actual show, Robert Smith, the band, were on fire. They did a great job. I kind of love the set list. I kind of love what they did. Essentially, you have a main set where it's a couple of singles and a lot of deep cuts, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And like, they did Burn. They did From the Edge of the Deep Creaking Sea. Those were definitely my highlights. But they had a couple other ones that were just great.
And they played some new material too.
Yeah, and there was new, he's like his fourth song. He's like, okay, we're gonna play new one. I'm like,
It's like, oh,
a new one? What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
I was concerned though, like, you know, they got to the first encore and then they started with more deep cuts. I'm like, I don't think they're going to be playing a lot of singles. And then they came back for the second encore and it was like, whew, like eight singles, like straight in a row.
Yeah, it was like back-to-back singles. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, but like, it seemed weird. Like, he was like, okay, they're going to let us play on a bit longs. So I was like, what, were they going to show you? That's the thing, like, I'll be blunt. I think they oversold this venue.
Yes,
this is ridiculous.
It was packed.
I paid way too much for lawn seats. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's the Cure, and lawn seats are usually pretty solid. We could not get really good position. Like, by the time we got to the second encore, we had a decent view of the band. But like, getting in there, it was packed. And that's after. That is after they did the whole emergency evacuation. A lot of people left, and still going back there after a lot of people left, it was still packed. And like, there were people sitting, like, there's a hill for the lawn, and there were people sitting on the other side of the hill where it's like, you obviously can't see. It's like, what are you doing? You're overselling the lawn, obviously.
Right, yeah.
And that's probably part of why it took so long to even get in, because like, you know, there's just way too many people.
Well, and getting out too, it took just as long to...
Dude, like, this parking lot's a shit show right now. We're going to be stuck in here for at least a half hour at this point.
Yeah, like, there's probably a good 5,000 people here.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. Like, I don't think the venue's built for this. So, yeah, I think that's a serious issue. And you'll notice, you probably just saw a lot of the concert footage I got. We did not have great position. Like, towards the end, we were able to get some good stuff. But, like, yeah, not great position. Good audio quality, so we have that. But, yeah, this is a fantastic Cure show, and everything around it's kind of shit. But
I wouldn't have done this for a lot of other bands. You know,
we did get some merch. They only had, like, the t-shirt we wanted wasn't there, but this one's pretty cool looking too. So we all got this version. Look, actually, I'll go ahead and say the only thing I don't like about it is the sideways dates.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did the sideways dates.
Because it's hard to read if you're, you know, wearing the shirt out and about, and it's like, oh, cool, what were the dates? And you have to, like, turn your head sideways to read it. So,
Shows of the Lost World. I actually did not know the name of this tour.
Shows of the Lost World.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good to know.
Cool.
But yeah, like, you know, they did plenty of deep cuts. They did plenty of singles. You had to stay for the whole thing for singles. They were on for like 3 hours.
Yeah. People started to leave after the first encore. Thinking, it was probably a good time to try to get out of traffic. And, you know, but, you know, they missed the whole set of singles.
Yeah.
So
like, the second encore was pure singles.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see the footage, but it's like single. It's like,
it's weird that they played love songs so early. They They played a new song, and then they played Pictures of You and Love Song, like, back-to-back, like, first thing in the set. And
You want to know what shocked me? They did not do Fascination Street.
they didn't, but they did play a good chunk of Disintegration.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
like hell. They did Plain Song.
Yeah, they
like, holy
played.
crap.
They played close to half the album easily.
Yeah, just somehow missed that one. Yeah, but they did do Pictures of You. Yeah.
I think Fascination Street's the only track that if I had any complaints for omissions, it would be that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that one I just kind of assumed it would be in there. Like I was like,
Yeah.
that one's a lock. That's definitely happening, and it didn't. So that's kind
Yeah.
of shocking. But like I said, they did From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea. They did Burn. Fuck, I'd have to look at the playlist, but like they did good ones, and they did a great job performing them.
Yeah.
Robert Smith's voice is still there. I will say one thing I noticed on Why Can't I Be You is that they didn't really have a chorus or anything, so it was Robert Smith just had to strategically do when he would sing instead of
Yeah.
doing the chorus. I thought that was kind of funny, but you know, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked. He made it
totally.
work. Yeah. But yeah, great show. Everything around the show kind of sucked. What is this? This is, we should probably state what the venue is.
Blossom Music Center.
Blossom Music Center, Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah. Not well, man. I think it's oversold, frankly. I don't know the exact numbers, but really seems like they oversold the shit out of this.
Right now there's a line of cars behind us, and there's no way we can even back out.
There's
Yeah.
multiple lines of cars.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But yeah.
It's a lot.
That being said, the band killed
They
it.
kicked ass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the band.
So
What were your thoughts, Ashley? You didn't say much.
It's like it's you guys were kind of going back and forth, and I was like, cool.
Yeah. Well, I know.
so-
After the whole going back and forth, you were like done.
Yeah, I was. I know actually at the beginning I was still so heated that I was just like sitting down and
Yeah.
not even paying attention
It's
to
like,
anything.
why are we still here? This sucks. It's like I get it, but
And you know, the thing is that like I started to like I the music was good. It was just that I was like soaked and miserable the whole time. We're getting great lighting right now from that car next.
yeah,
to us.
we're getting some concert lighting. But
yeah, being wet. It did not rain throughout the concert
yeah,
itself.
not too much. It started drizzling on the way
Drizzled a
back,
little
but
bit.
it's not.
Yeah.
bad.
During the concert near the
Yeah, I ended up actually just wearing Tears for Fears for most of the show because
Yeah,
my coat
I'm-
got soaked.
You know, my pants are still wet from
Yes.
3.5 hours ago.
Yes.
So,
I am. Yes.
so not the most comfortable, but I mean, it was worth it. We got to see the Cure.
Yeah,
It's a
how many
bucket
times are we
list.
gonna get to see The Cure? And
Now, I don't know that I would
do
do.
they have a new album coming out? I guess
Maybe.
Yeah, it
So,
seems like it.
probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that I would do an outdoor venue like this, knowing that there's rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or-
this was bad. Well, you know, it kind of
Yeah.
torqued me off if like they won't accept my camping chairs. Like it can only be it can't be this far away. And then like they loaned us those chairs, and it's like these are like the same size.
Yeah,
This
and
is
they totally
shit.
different lines. You could see they were letting them through, and it's
Yes.
just kind of like, we just.
It was evil.
Anyways, but still had
the
a great time.
The Cure put on a good show. I won't recommend this venue, but I would absolutely recommend the band.
I'm sure the venue's fine if it's just no rain. So,
Well, like I said, I think they oversold too.
They did,
That
they
is
did.
the issue. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, Robert Smith, the rest of the band, they were fire.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I don't have much
Yeah.
to add. Good show.
awesome.
I will have to say, like, of the three concerts the last three concerts I've done, I think Yes was the most seamless, and that one had issues too. So, I think technically of like the actual performances, I think of the three, The Cure was better, but like Yes was probably the best managed. Yeah.
yeah,
Listen, man, we got Peter Gabriel and Depeche Mode coming up. Those are arena shows, so those should be
Dry.
better managed. Yeah, the climate controlled. Oh my god. But yeah,
I still remember when we were walking back in there, and you were like, "Climate control."
Yeah.
Climate control, and then it immediately started raining harder.
yeah. Yes, good show.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.